Truly.
Truly.
Truly. All right, going. All right, thank you. Welcome to those of you who are joining us online on YouTube, on Facebook. Welcome. This is the second installment of the Consul General's Distinguished Lecture Series here at Island Space. And this evening we are pleased to welcome our guest of honor, Miss Patricia Chin of Miss Pat, they call her, of VP Records. And clap again. We're grateful to Dr. Lydia Malcolm of Authentic Behavioral Health LLC and her husband, Mr. Wainwright Malcolm, for being our supporters for this evening. My name is Khalid Thompson, and to those of you watching online, how many in here is your first time at Island Space? Raise your hand. Okay. So we have a few people seeing us here for the first time. If you're online, you might just be learning about Island Space. Island Space Caribbean Museum is the first and only pan-Caribbean heritage museum in the world. That means that although you may have gone to a Jamaican museum or a Haitian museum or a Cuban museum, you've never gone to one that represents all the countries of the region in terms of our history, our archival information, and so on. And so we hold a place in South Florida, which we call the Gateway to the United States. This is where you step foot first before you head off to New York or to Chicago or to Texas or wherever else you end up as a Caribbean person. And 1 in 4 people in South Florida, believe it or not, was born in the Caribbean. So we represent more than a quarter, because everybody has children and spouses and so forth, right? We represent those people in South Florida, and representation matters. There are forces in our society who are trying to change history and all these kind of things. The space that we are in right here, we're able to tell our own story, our own way. And that's the reason for Island Space. How you can support, if you're watching online and if you're in the room, we want to make sure that you feel welcome to help us, feel welcome to become a part of this family, whether you want to contribute your time, your talent, your treasure, you want to host events here, we are open to partnerships with the community. And we'll talk about that more a little bit later, but tonight I want to start off by inviting the representative of the Consulate General, Miss Cheryl Winter, our CG. Just side note, our CG actually had to receive the Prime Minister, who made a pop-up visit to South Florida today. So he's coming a little bit later if he can. Hopefully he can make it. But to represent the Consulate General, I'm inviting Ms. Cheryl Winter up to come and say a few words. And we know how she loves public speaking.
Good evening. Welcome to the Island Space. The Consul General is unable to make it, as Khalid said, because we have one our most important person in the government services passing through. So he will be able to join us a little later. In the meantime, Miss Pat, we're here to welcome you to Island Space. Certainly to tell your story. We need your story as part of the story here. And thank you all for coming. And you could have been elsewhere, so thanks for coming out and supporting the community events. And this is not the second community event of the Consul General series, but maybe the second one here. Yeah. So we try to do them monthly and on topical events. So sit back, enjoy, and listen to Miss Pat's story. Thank you all.
Thank you, Cheryl. I am also going to again recognize our sponsor for the evening and ask you to join us, Lydia, if you don't mind. Our sponsor for this evening is Dr. Lydia Malcolm of Authentic Behavioral Health LLC and her husband, Mr. Wainwright Malcolm. And I would love for you to share with us why it is that you found it important to support Island Space.
I'm just here to hold the mic.
He is the original sexy. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm Cuban, so I think I can be loud enough. I don't want to yell at you, but if you all can hear me. So first of all, it is an honor for us to support Island Space and to support the Consulate General's Distinguished Lecturer Series. And I want to share 3 quick things about me. 1, who I am, what I do, and why I felt it's important to support Island Space. So I am Cuban by birth, Jamaican by married. Thank you to my mother and Mark Malcolm for producing such a wonderful young man. And I am American by the grace of God because I was a Cuban immigrant rescued at sea by the Coast Guard. Was a 17-year-old mother who had to drop out of college. And by the grace of God and the opportunities we have here, I was able to complete my doctorate in clinical psychology at the young old age of 53. And thanks to this guy who really knows how to check papers. But I want to share a little bit. My work for the last 8 years has been in the intersection of mental and physical health. And I think I don't need to tell anyone that we are at a crisis point with our mental health system, with our physical health system. After the pandemic, it has just become unsustainable. So the work that I do with individual people and with organizations is educate people. I want to educate and support people so that they know enough about their physical health, about their bodies, and about how it works, how to take control of those things and make sure that we're living our best quality life. And we do that through making small changes. Everybody thinks we have to all go to the gym and work out, for hours. No, it's small changes that we make to how we eat, how we sleep, how we interact with other people that really make the difference and helps us to avoid. I know I'm Cuban. I know there's a lot of folks from Jamaica here. We do not like the hospitals and the doctors. Amen? We do not trust for very good reasons. We have a very broken system that particularly ignores folks that are not from the U.S. Minorities are impacted by mental health and physical health disproportionately. So we're taking it back, we're taking control. So I thought that I would come here today, and I want to tell you why we decided to support Island Space. We were here for another event on the eve of the decision that the court made to get rid of affirmative action. And that set into motion the idea that those of us who are a minority in the United States need to care for ourselves and others. We can't rely on government to solve the issues of racial disparity in many aspects of our life, including physical and mental health. And one important aspect of mental health is our own perceived value, our identity, how we perceive, how we see ourselves. And in Island Space, this is providing a way for us to collectively continue on our journey of healing and of empowerment, to know that we have our rightful place. So with initiatives like the Speaker Series, we can set forth our own stories, examples of success through adversity, build a collective identity as community leaders, create strength and opportunity through our connections. We have to network, get together, and support each other. No one's going to do it if we don't do it for each other. And we build those and we take charge of our own faith for now and for generations to come. So I am deeply honored to be here on this day to listen to Ms. Pat, who exemplifies one of those leaders that really shines that light bright of everything that we're capable of being. And we don't need anyone else to take care of us. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Set up my stage. Give me 1 second. Are we centered? Production team, are we centered?
When you finish fixing.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we done?
Yes.
Hold on. Let me know if we're good.
Yeah.
And now I would like to introduce our guest for the evening, standing at around 4 feet 11 inches, 80-something-year-old Patricia Chin, at first cuts an unassuming figure. This is from our Island Origins profile that we did of Miss Pat a few years ago, right? So if you haven't read it, please go on the website and check it out. If you passed her on the street, you probably wouldn't realize that you just wandered by one of the giants of Caribbean music and the woman behind many of the world's most prominent Jamaican artists. Miss Pat, as most people refer to her, has had over 60 years of experience in the music industry. She's the co-founder of the US-based VP Records, one of the first and largest independent record labels for reggae and dancehall in the world. This accomplished career all started after her husband, Vincent Randy Chin, amassed a collection of discarded 45s and LPs from his work with a local jukebox company, inspiring the couple in 1958 to open up their own shop called Randy's Record Store in Kingston, Jamaica. Becoming a hotspot for the latest releases from local artists, they opened Studio 17 in 1965, providing a precious venue for a generation of stars that would come to define Jamaican pop music. Miss Patricia Chin, Miss Pat, please join me.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you all for coming out. I guess I've shared my story so many times that it's just like I'm repeating everything over and over again. But if you're the first time coming here, my book said all. And with that script that you just said, it gave away the whole of my life.
Not in 2 paragraphs. I know your life is very storied and colorful. And so we'll ask a few questions of you here, and then we'll open up the floor, because I know many people came with a bunch of questions for you this evening. So let us start off by talking about your early memories from Randy's record store and what was happening that time in Jamaican music.
Reflecting backwards in 1958, that's when I started. It was a very, I would say, a time when we didn't have any Jamaican music playing in Jamaica. It was all R&B. We didn't have a culture named reggae music in 1958. It was just a few mentors. But we saw the need for it. And when we got independence in 1962, that was a time when we really decided we need to get the culture going. We need to embrace the young artists because they had so many talents. My husband started to sell, we started a small record store in 1958, 59, and selling old jukebox records, as you said. And then we did very successful selling old jukebox records and R&B records, because it was only R&B records that was imported from the state. We didn't have much Jamaican records. As a matter of fact, we didn't have no Jamaican records. It was just mentors. And even in 1962, when we started Jamaican music, reggae music, they didn't want to play it on the radio. They didn't accept it. It was new, it was strange, and they thought it wasn't good enough to be aired. So we got a lot of kickbacks from early on. Even when Godmother was singing at first, nobody knew about Godmother. And we had so many great singers. And after a time, my husband, we rented a store in Jamaica in 1958 called Randy's Record Mart. And there we started. It wasn't a grocery, it wasn't a restaurant. It was like a 10 by 10 space. And I went to the different factories and buy one each LPs. And when one LP sold, I went back and buy another LP. And then we just started. I think it was more or less like an experiment. You know, when you start something, you don't know what's going to happen. You just go from day to day and just trying to do the best you can. But one thing we realized, that the Jamaican people are very gifted for music. It is all life, all bread, all butter. Because when you sing, it brings you hope. It makes you feel good. It gives you a feeling of, you know, when you're down, we sing for everything. I think Jamaicans sing for everything. When we're happy, when we're sad, when we go to church, we sing at the wedding. We sing when we're working. It just gives you hope and good feelings. So I think Jamaican is really gifted for music. And that's what we saw in the artists, the young entrepreneur singers. So my husband built a studio that they could come up and sing. There was more students there, but we were fortunate to have a studio right in Kingston, right in the marketplace, where everybody came to buy their records, and we had a studio upstairs. And that's how we started.
You spoke in this story about some of the very interesting and exciting names of people who you met at the very start of their careers. Talk about some of those people.
Well, most of the young singers, we didn't even realize that they were going to be famous after a time. So we had Derek Morgan, we had Keith Pappin, Delroy Wilson, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, I Trees, which is Rita Marley, and Lee Perry. Quite a few, so much that I forget some of the names. But over the years, we have developed a great friendship with them. So they were very comfortable to use the studio. And if they didn't have any money at that time, I think it was about $20 per hour. If they only had $5, you say, okay, go on. When you make a hit, you come back and pay. Some make it, some didn't make it. But at least they had a chance to express their career. And I think music also give them a chance to, instead of doing not the right thing, to give them hope and to give them to show them that they have a voice and they can use their talent and make a life for their own. So it was not only the studio, but I think it helped them to have a place where they can come and express themselves and hopefully make a career out of singing. So I'm happy for that.
What was it that eventually had you leave Jamaica and decide to come to the US instead?
Well, in the early 70s, there was a lot of riot and political problems. And it was very hard to really pack up and leave because we had established a business for 20 years. We have family, we have friends, we have customers. So for me to leave, it was very hard, but it was no fun. Every day we have to draw down the shutters. Every day you have to worry about the kids coming home from school. It was a very hard time. A lot of crime, a lot of things was going on that it was no fun to run a business. Our life was more important than the business. So my husband and myself decided to leave, which was we didn't even think too long because the time was so dangerous for us. So we did pack a trailer and leave. My husband left before I did. And I stayed back and ran the studio and the store. And 3 years after, I came to the United States. That was a hard thing for us. As a matter of fact, when I packed the trailer, at that time you could only carry $50 out. So I packed it with a whole lot of food. Oil, rice, everything you can think of. So when the custom officer opened the trailer, I said, Mrs. Chin, we don't have a famine. Why are you bringing so much food? I said, because we don't have any money to buy, so we have to have the food to serve us for at least 3, 4, 5 years. So we packed the trailer with so many foods. Rice, sugar, flour, anything that won't spoil. It was packed in the trailer. So that's what we did. But it wasn't very easy coming to a new country. Yeah, my kids were still small. One was 12, one was 14, one was 16. So we have to find school for them. Then we have to find where to live, where to put up shop, and the language. And everybody thought when you come from Jamaica, you're criminal, and all you do is drugs. So we were a little embarrassed even to talk, and the language was, see that Chinese woman singing reggae, me selling reggae music. It was so strange to them too.
That's actually my next question to you. That's actually my next question to you. Your mother, I believe, was Chinese and your father was Indian?
Yes,
East
my
Indian.
mother is Chinese and my father is Indian.
So as a 4'11" Chinese Indian woman selling reggae music
In America.
Not the expected package or combination, right? So
Right.
what was that experience like for you? How did people receive you as that?
Well, we usually do telemarketing because at that time in 1977 we didn't have computer. Everything had to be in our head. And we had to write down everything on paper. The orders, because we didn't see the customer, we just do telemarketing. We'd call them up and they'd tell us what they want. So most of the time the man would say, could you put on a man on the line? So I said, why do you want a man? So they would say, well, because I don't think you know what I need. That was, I mean, I didn't take it for anything like that. Then I realized that they think women cannot do music, cannot produce or sell music. But little did they know this short Chinese woman stayed 20 years on the counter selling records. So I knew all the artists, the producer, the songs, the rhythm, the version, the lyrics. I knew everything. Because being a woman and I don't go to the dance, I have to know everything and I have to work much harder than the men.
You can bust a tune for us, right?
Yes.
Just check.
I love all kind of music. I have to dance to sell too because I'm selling on the counter. That's like it's telling he used to sell on the counter during the States.
And you have to dance for them to buy it. And I was only about 18 and I was dancing. The customer come in and I dance and I play music. They, okay, mister, don't worry. By the time they turn the door, I put another one. I said, don't put on no more.
So the life up here was very hard at first, but we survived. The one thing I realized that wherever you go, you have to stick with your culture. You have to stick with the people who will support you. And I just did a series about loving thy community. It's all about community and give back. And I think that's what takes us 60 years and still doing the same thing. Because I believe when one makes it, they have to give back. My parents are always telling us that if you think we're poor, and we were very poor, there's always somebody poorer than yourself. So as children, I remember my dad used to work at the haberdashery. And because we were so poor, he gave me a box of rubber band and marbles. And I sold them in school. I was only 12 at elementary school. They call it government school at that time. I was able to sell the rubber band and the marbles to make lunch money. And I think that's what developed in my brains as an entrepreneur and a salesperson, that if I sell something that somebody loves, they're going to buy it. And from 12, I knew that I could sell, because I tried to sell what people want, and I tried to make them, what I sell makes them happy. And what better form of but music? Music makes people happy. It gives you hope. We sing for everything, as I said. Jamaica is gifted for our music, our sports, and our food. Wherever I travel and I hear reggae music, I feel so happy that at least people do love our music. And when I say love it, they love it. We're Jamaican, we're used to having it and hearing it. But when you go abroad and you see how much people, white people, love our music, you know that we're doing something very good.
Can you talk about some of those places you will have traveled in the world where you were just very surprised to come off the plane? You talked about being in Alaska and you come off the plane and you look at people playing One Love, right? Where are some of those places that have surprised you?
Yeah, I went to Cuba and I hear that they know so much about Bob Marley. I was wondering if they knew Bob Marley from Lisbon. They write books. Yeah, we went to Cuba. And I'm surprised to see how much they knew about Jamaican culture. Then I went to Alaska, and when we came off the ship, here's the Little Three-Piece Band. One love, one heart. I said, oh my God, we're in Alaska. They know reggae music. You know, I traveled the rest of Spain, everywhere. They just love music, and they love our culture and our music. I think we're so gifted from God for this music called reggae music, because it gives you hope. And why I like it so much, I think, is because of they also go through struggle. And our songs are always talking about the struggle that we have to go through. And I think that they identify with the culture and the struggle that we all go through. Whether you're rich or poor, and even being rebellious as a teenagers, where they're rebellious against their parents, they can identify with the struggle and be rebellious at times to make changes.
You talked earlier about being underestimated, I guess, because you're a woman in the industry. But some of the key projects or products or initiatives that people know VP for came out of your mind. Talk about some of those.
Well, you know, I'm on the count of 20 years in Jamaica. So I'm always trying to learn more and more and more. And I was never afraid to ask questions. I always talk with the producers, the artists, everybody I speak with, the sound system people, my customer. Sometimes my customer doesn't know the name of the record and they're a little embarrassed too. So I'd bring them one side and say, hum it, tell me how it goes. And they would hum it, whether it's a man or a woman. I would quiz them. What is the singing about? Who sings it? Is it a man? Is it a woman? So that I'll try to find the records for them. Because at times they're embarrassed, they don't know the name of the record, they want the record. And I think also that when a person wants a particular record, maybe they want it for their girlfriend, their mother, special occasion. So when you really do find that record for them, they're so appreciative for it because it means a lot to them. I usually try to get whatever my customer wants. And also I try in America to carry all the small producers record to give them a chance. Because sometimes they take their money and they produce a record and they didn't do so well. So I try to, the smaller producers, I try to carry all their music to give them a chance at the audience. Because music is never bad, it's just like sometimes it comes out too early. So music is never bad. It's always somebody will like it. So I don't ever see a record that is bad. When it changes in different music, you know, we started from ska, and then we go to reggae, then we are now in dancehall. So I see the whole gamut from rock, ska, rock steady, then you have drum and bass, then you have come right up to dancehall now. So I see the whole period of times. And I do see that when you're young, you gravitate to the dancehall because it's an expression of self. And when you get a little older, middle age, you go to the roots and culture. You're sort of seeing life a little different. And then when you get a little older, you go for the lovers rock. so you see, it goes with your age also and where you are in life. And I've seen that through the 60 years.
So you gave me an opportunity here to give us a little plug. I see Luki Chong is here. Very important figure in reggae music history, as is Miss Pat, of course. And he is working with Island Space right now on a project called Reggae Genealogy. So on February 10th of 2024, Island Space is producing a concert event called Reggae Genealogy, where we're going to tell that story of the music from mento to ska to drum and bass and rocksteady and lovers rock and even where it is where it's shed its influence into Afrobeats and reggaeton and all these other progenies of reggae. And so as we're thinking about that, the question I asked you a while ago, I wanted you to get to the point where you started realizing that there were collections of songs that people enjoyed hearing together, and you birthed a new product that has become a 20 plus year series now at BP Records.
Well, we had a series called Reggae Gold, Soca Gold, and Strictly the Best. It came about that in Jamaica, everybody buys the little 45 records, so they're up to date. But in America, people don't have the facility to buy each of the new releases. So my idea was to put all the releases for that year on one LP. And it started maybe 40 years, or 30 years. When it started with Reggae Gold, and then we do Soca Gold. We eventually had to do Soca because when I came to America, there was a lot of soca, but we didn't play much soca in Jamaica. It was Barely who brought soca to Jamaica. But we had to do soca because it was so popular. What I noticed when I came up here, all the producers only sell their records. But what we did, what VP did, is to gather all the hits and put it on one LP called Soca Gold. And the same thing I think in Jamaica when I started, it was all the producer, Beverly's, Prince Busters, Duke Reed, all the producers, Coxon, they only sell their products. But what I did, I went around and buy their products and I become a one-stop. We didn't even know about one-stop at that time. So I created a one-stop. And I also created a various artist LP because the producers have one hits, and I said to them, why don't you let us put all the hits on one and make it a various artists and I'll share the money. If 10 producers, one each song, we just share the money. And they trusted me, and that's how it all started. We didn't have the lawyers on contract with us. Trusted me and I trusted him, and we do the right thing. And that's how the business started.
Big ideas come in small packages, right? Miss Pat, we're here talking about your entire life, and you have captured that entire life in this book here, Miss Pat, My Reggae Music Journey. What are some of the unexpected things that people might know? By the way, if you're watching online, it's available on Amazon, both the paperback and the hardcover version.
And VP Records
And
in Florida.
And VP, if you want to pick it up in Florida, yes.
And New York.
And New York.
And in Jamaica.
Okay.
In Jamaica too.
At the airport, everywhere, right? Everywhere. But you have it in paperback, you have it in hardcover. If you are here this evening, if you haven't heard it 3 or 4 times already, you can get your copy signed this evening. Please do buy it. But what are some of the interesting stories or unexpected stories that people might hear when they read this book?
It's been a long journey writing the book. At first, when I started, it was supposed to be a scrapbook because my parents didn't tell me much about their journey from China. And I wanted to tell my generation how my life was. So I started to collect pictures from way back when. And then after I started, but I said, I have to have some text go with the pictures. And then I just started to jot down. As you know, the book is in 4 sequences. It's when I was born, 20 years. And then when I started business, another 20 years. And when I come to America, which is 45 years, so if you had of all those 20, you know, all I am, right? So it's really started with a scrapbook, and then it started telling the story how my mother, we were extremely poor. We had 1 bedroom, 4 of us, 3 of us, 3 children, mother and father. My father used to ride a bicycle, and we have to go on the bed before the bicycle come in the 1 bedroom. And that's the truth. 1 bedroom, because we were extremely poor. But we will learn to survive because my dad and my mom, when things was a little better for us, my dad used to work on haberdashery. And then he would buy a big bale of rice, 100 pounds. And a corned beef, and every Christmas we would take a cup of rice and a corned beef and put it in a little bag, and the people would come and we'll give it to them. Hundreds of people would come. And then Easter time, he would buy a bun, small little bun, and because they work at the haberdashery, he could get a big tin of cheese, he would cut it up. And we had to put 1 bun and a little piece of cheese. And Easter time they would come, people would come and we give them. So it was instilled in me from that time that we have to give back. And whatever God has given us, we have to share it and give back. And that's what keeps us. We're always developing. And always developing new music because there's always new artists coming up. If you make 10 records, sometimes 1 sell, but we still have to invest and keep getting, new artists and give them wings to fly. Some make it, some don't make it. But I think that we have to be the person that keep developing the music and the culture. The culture and the music is important to be developed. If not, who's going to share? We have to make people know where we're coming from and how we get here and if we belong. There was a thing I went the other day and there's so much crime and things going on. But we belong. We brought our culture here. We spread our culture. We're not lazy people. We make a living and we help others to come up. And I usually say that when you're at the top, make sure you bring up another person. And don't be afraid to ask because there's a lot of people, very good people out there will help you. Always ask. And when you reach that top, always bring up another person with you or several persons. God, that's the only way God has planned it for us to help each other. I did a series the other day, Love Thy Neighbor. And this company picked us because they see what we did for the last 60 years. And they admire us so much. They did a whole series on us. And titled Love Thy Neighbor. And that's why we live by. We live by loving people and helping when you can. And never look down on another person because you don't know unless you walk in their footsteps. You know where they're coming from. So my husband and myself and my children, I always encourage them. My daughter is here with me, Angela, and my sister-in-law. We're all in the business. My two sons, Randy and Chris, and my grandchildren are in the business too, and my third generation. And we're still carrying it on. We never want to sell the company because we know it's not only for the money, but it's because of the love of the culture and the people and the music.
I'm going to ask one more question and then I'm going to open the floor to questions. So think about yours. When you're ready, we're going to call upon you. All right, so Miss Pat is a very tech-savvy lady, right? So when we were doing this interview, she was already on the Zoom and on the things online. And one of the things that Richard Liu, who is our friend here in South Florida, another Chinese Jamaican, represent Luki, right? And one of the things that he will talk about is that you're not really selling 45s and LPs and CDs anymore. Everything has gone digital. How have you kept up with the changes in the music industry over the years?
Well, I'm blessed to have my great-grandson, Stephen and Stephanie, and my Chris's kids and Randy's kids. They're all in the high-tech things because if I couldn't text, I wouldn't be able to talk with them. So the first thing I have to learn is to text them because they're not going to talk with me unless I text them. But they're the one that do it. Stephen especially, whatever you see on iTunes and all that Spotify and Apple Music, he's the one behind it. We did he just did 2 big billboard in Times Square with Spice, and I tell you, we couldn't pay for that, I can tell you that, and he was able to make Spotify put up 2 big billboards right in Times Square with Spice, and also in Canada. So the young generation, I'm blessed to have them because the whole music industry has changed. It's all about streaming now. I don't know it too much, but my ears are always open to learn. I always want to learn new things. I just love to learn new things, and I just keep learning. Sometimes I see something on TV, I call them and say, hey, why can't we have so much good music, why don't we do some more commercial? Go pick up some of those companies and tell them about one of the tracks that can do a commercial because we're so gifted with music. And we're best in lyrics. We make lyrics out of nothing. Shaggy just did one named Pina Colada, and I said, wow, Pina Colada could be a beautiful commercial with some of those things. I have to call him and tell him. My ears are always to the street.
All right, so who has the first question? There you go.
Okay. I am.
You actually come over here so we get the.
Oh, okay. I gotta walk up. Oh my God. I'm glad I got out something clean. I am very, very honored to participate in this. The culture is overwhelming. I'm somebody who loves culture, and it's just amazing. And I was telling her earlier how it's only in Jamaica that you'd have a Chinese woman and an Indian man get together and then have kids named Williams. You know what I'm saying? The culture, not all islands embrace that, you know? But my question is, because you're so full of life and such abundance and love and everything, what is your secret to longevity? What drives you?
The music and the people. You know, I love to be with people, and I love my music and my culture. So that's what drives me, because when I hear the music, it brings me back to a good feeling. Wherever you are, you know, when you hear music, don't care how old it is. It brings you back to that day when you heard it. Music is funny because it never dies. It's always live. And if you haven't heard a song that's even 50 years old, when you hear it for the first time, it's still as sweet as when you hear it for the first time. Music never dies.
Thank you.
What's the next question?
Very short one. I think it's going to show though. This part, you know a lot of music. Tell us your top 2 or 3 songs. And anything that you can remember, one of your favorites, share with us.
So for those watching online, the question was, what are Miss Pat's top 2 or 3 favorite songs?
David, you're putting me in a spot. You know I love every music, but I'm a roots girl. I always love roots music because of the message in the music. So I love every type of music, you know that.
All right.
If nobody else has questions, I have more, but okay, all right. Father Ward, thank you so much. And if you have questions, please put your hand up. Join us up at the front. If you have questions, just put your hand up so we can come to you next, please. Please stand over here so the camera can pick you up, sir. This nice gentleman is Father Ward.
Miss Pat,
Yes.
don't as we run things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So will you be kind enough to stand?
Okay. All right. Okay.
We love you bad, you know.
Thank you. I love
We
you.
love you
back.
good.
I love you good too.
Who not agree? The joy of your being here and the difference that you have made. Now, Miss Pat, Marcia, my wife and I have 9 grandpigs. 9 jing. What one thing I can take in all that you are and tell them tonight? One thing, please.
I would say the one thing that I've learned, allow the kids to do what they like to do best. Because when you force them to do what you think they want, it never works. My second son didn't like music and he didn't like the business. He went away Arizona for many years and then to California. Because Randy was an aeronaut engineer. But after a time, he came right back to work with us with the knowledge that he had from the big majors. So don't force them for what you want them to do. Develop them up in what they like to do. And they'll be happy because as long as they can live a very productive life and make them happy, then they will be all right. Because God has a plan for all of us. And we all cannot be doctors and lawyers. We have to have different types of people to make the world be a fair world. Because it will be done if all of us are doctors and lawyers. Why? What about the singers, the artists, the people that do domestic work and help us in different parts of the world and in our everyday life? And I realized that no job is honored to be overlooked. Everything is important. every type of job is important to make the world run. So
You know.
just give them the love and give them what they love to do, and they'll develop in what they like to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Now, we have a seat. Do you know Father Easton Lee?
Yes, the name is familiar.
Oh, one good man, you know.
Yes, it is.
You know it there.
It is.
And he and Norma Darby, some maybe 20 years ago, wrote a pantomime that has been presented here some 11 years ago here in South Florida. And this weekend, it is being presented the second time at the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center. In that pantomime, one of the things they, the co-writers, said was, we sing everything. And so one of the characters here, what's your name again?
Her name is on the thing on our shirt as well.
They had no good in us, so I have to try it.
Maxine.
Maxine is one of the exciting presenters.
And so are you.
It's an exciting.
Tell us your title.
In the play or in real life?
Well, what you do in real life. And
What I
on the
real
play.
life and do?
Both.
Me a
Both.
pastor.
Yes.
Ordained in the Anglican Church there in Jamaica. And I serve and have been serving here in South Florida for the past 25 years at the Episcopal Church of the Holy Family, which is an Anglican church here in South Florida, in the great city of Miami Gardens. And I invite you to come and be a part of us the next time you come to South Florida. I will go show them one big thing.
Well, I can give you a little joke about being in the gospel and being a pastor. Father Long told us a little story about when he was running his church. When the kids reached 12, they don't want to come back to church. So what he did is ask Shaggy to come and do 2 songs, and all of them come back to church. So you have to have ways and means to do things.
But Shaggy's greatest piece of music is what? And now telling them what you not agree. Miss Maxine.
Wasn't me.
But something come back again.
By the way, you mentioned Spice a while ago, and I want to just let everybody know that we have a beautiful bustier that Spice wore at a concert event several years ago that she donated along with the matching wig and high heel shoes over in our archive. So thank you. And of course, VP came with Egyptian the other day and gave us the gold record for Holio when he upgraded to his platinum. So.
Very nice.
So our archive really is capturing bits of history, thanks to VP in part as well.
And thanks for the team, because this is very, as you said, it's very unique because it's inclusive. It's not just one person. You brought in everybody in under one roof.
Absolutely.
Which is very, very nice.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, David. And your
Oh,
team.
our team, yes. I have a question coming from
Oh,
outside.
nice.
So, coming from Sir Richard Hugh Blackford. His question for Miss Pat. There is a growing chorus in music circles in the Americas and in Europe that reggae music is becoming redundant. Hence, there is lagging sales and, I guess, waning popularity for reggae artists. Do you agree with this notion? And if so, what can we do to reverse the trend, if you think that that is true?
Well, like everything else, we go through a period of downtime and uptime. So maybe the downtime is now, but streaming is what's pulling the financial part. My son said streaming is what really. So streaming is good because you not only sing, but you see the person. So that's a new revolution for us too, because some of the older singers, people are getting to see them now. They were only singing at the time, they didn't see their face. But now, and it also tells you that you have to know not only sing, but you have to know to speak and talk and dress. So it's also a revolution in letting us know that we have to do more now. Competition is there, we just have to do more.
Do you really feel that it is waning in the popularity of the music, or is it more gentrification? Because there's now a lot of white reggae and Hawaiian reggae and Afrobeats version and reggaeton and all these other offshoots.
Well, when people imitate you, you know you're doing something great.
Absolutely.
We are original, and we stay original. When somebody imitates you, you know you're doing something good.
Greatest form of flattery.
Yes.
Mr. Chong, representing the Chinese Jamaican community, please come up here, sir.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Yes.
I'm just following up on Khalid's point, Ms. Pat. You were at ground zero when reggae music started, when Jamaican music started. Today we see a proliferation of global peoples performing reggae music. How does that make you feel as somebody who was there at the beginning and had a huge hand in the growth of reggae music?
You feel responsible?
I feel very happy that they were doing something that they imitate and love also. But I feel that it's a time for us to reflect back to that we have a lot more to be done. In our culture, we need to step it up. We need to be able to dress properly, talk properly. When you decide to take on an artist, they can't be taking 10, 5, 20 people with them because it's a business. They have to learn business at first. Because without that ethics of them knowing what business is all about, they will just think of something unrealistic. So they have to learn business and the ethics of dressing, talking, acting, singing, and their demeanor. Everything has to go to make it right. So I think we are at a crossroads where we need to really step it up and think of all the things that we could do together with our talent and our music to compete.
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Come forward so we can get you on camera. I don't have my second camera today, sorry. Very dapper looking gentleman.
GQ.
Good evening, ma'am. Mark Davis. So I want to thank you for what you've done throughout the years with reggae music. Now, I happen to know where the first store was. 58, I wasn't there, but I know where the store was downtown, and I used to come there to buy records as an aspiring DJ back in the day. I'm still trying to do that now. But one of the things we're going to talk about is the fact that you and your family gave back. It's extraordinary what you did. The fact that, speaking of the impoverished background that you came from, but yet your father, was able to contribute to the community at special times. That's something remarkable. So it is said that it's not what you do, but it's how you make someone feel that they remember you by that. So how you make a person feel, they remember you for that. What you do for them is easily forgotten, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So if you embarrass them, then they won't forget the embarrassment. You feed them, then they forget that you fed them, but they will always remember the embarrassment. So secondly, I was in Shinjuku in Japan a couple of years ago, and every club I walk into on a Saturday night was playing reggae music. So the gentleman that questioned whether reggae music is waning or has become passe or whatever, that's a matter of opinion. As far as I'm concerned, because I still play reggae music, and wherever I go, every party I play at, and it doesn't matter what the group is, the ethnic group is. whenever the reggae music starts playing, is that everyone, literally everyone in the room, get up and start dancing. So I want to thank you again for what your contribution to reggae music and what you and your family have done. And I hope that your grandchildren will continue along the path that you started and blaze more trail for us to continue reggae music. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Next question. Raise your hands at once. All right, I have one more. No. All right, so what are some of the current projects that VP is working on?
I'm not in the everyday, but I know they have a lot of things in the pipeline. What we spend most of our time doing is to create and collaborate with other companies. And we started my foundation. I mean, VP has always given back, but 3 years ago I started a foundation, especially for education of the music, the singers, to help them. And I just hope that it will do well, because starting a foundation, we are able to expand to get more money to give back. That's the whole purpose of the book, because most of the proceeds is giving back to the foundation to help the artists in education. When we bring them up on shows to expose them, that's part of what we do. So although I think reggae music isn't doing all that well, it is doing well. We're in a pipeline of doing a lot of things for Jamaica, because we're from Jamaica and we have never forgotten where we come from. We never forget where we come from, so we have a lot of projects doing for Jamaica, in Jamaica.
Does VP Records also sign and promote non-Jamaican reggae artists?
Yes, my grandson Stephen, I think we're doing collaboration with a lot of other people. It's pretty new, but that's where we're going.
Sexy man.
Miss Pat, this one is personal to me. I hear you say you love roots. I love roots. I particularly love, just cultural, original reggae, roots rock reggae music. I know that you've done work to sort of herald and introduce female artists. And that is absolutely essential and to be lauded, because we don't celebrate our female artists enough, or certainly not as much as the men. What is the future of female artists in your estimation, as one of your position at VP, and what are the children doing for the women artists coming up, beyond those who have already made it as stars? We have a lot of names right now that are doing well, but the ones who haven't yet made it, how are we bringing those young ladies into the frame?
Well, I remember years ago, we didn't have females singing by themselves. There were only backup singers. I remember a very good friend of mine said to me one time, when I went on stage, all they're telling me, not your time, not your time. When the show finished, and not your time yet. It was so bad, But we sang a lot, quite a few female artists, and we're continuing to sign them, because they not only sing, but they have more to bring to the table, because some do yoga class, health class. They're adding more to just singing. So I think that's a good thing. And women are multitaskers. We have to take care of the kids, take care of the job, take care of the husband. So I would say to all the women out there, go for it. And when you reach the top, bring up another one or two. You never stop. But no offense to the men.
Am I right? I think I just saw Copeland Forbes come into the room. So we have some reggae royalty of the Jamaican and music industry. Eddie Edwards is here as well. Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Eddie Edwards is here this evening. We mentioned Lukey Chong as well. These are some people who have, done amazing things in South Florida and in reggae music in general. So Miss Pat, any final thoughts that you want to share? Oh, let me put it on the question one more time. Are there any more questions for Miss Pat?
I also saw Angela and Howie Chung, who are
I'm sorry.
Howie Chung and
VP Records in South Florida. Angela and Howie Chung, yes. And it looks like Big G, this is our resident DJ at Island Space, have a question for Miss Pat.
Miss Pat, it's a pleasure meeting you. And with the plethora of hits that has come across your desk, which one was it that just didn't seem like it wasn't going to go anywhere, but blew up, that surprised you?
Well, as I said, that no music is ever bad. Sometimes the time isn't right, it's premature, but I don't think there's any record that's ever bad. Somebody's gonna like that record. It's gonna mean something for somebody. So I don't think, sometimes when you're in the boardroom and you're saying this record's supposed to be the hit, you'll be surprised because it's the people on the street who makes the hit. I've seen it happen over and over. The people that makes the hit. Not what you anticipate in the boardroom. It's the people, the radio station, the DJs, the sound system, all of those put together to make the hit.
Over your 80 some years of accomplishment and life, is there a moment or an achievement within the scope of VP Records that has made you the proudest or that you feel the most about?
Yes, sometime when I'm driving on Eastern Parkway, there's 3 rows of car, left, 3 rows right, and there's someone that turn on their glass, and you hear reggae music blasting here and blasting here. You feel so happy because, oh my God, I'm in America. But look how much you're playing reggae music. It makes me so proud to see 90% of those records that they're playing, we either produce it or distribute it. And let me tell you, sometimes when you go to the dances and you hear all the records, it just makes you feel so proud that for 60 years we've been doing this thing and it's still live. And people just love the music. So, music never dies. Music is your soul, it's the heartbeat. Lives on.
All right, so another question, okay.
This is another question from Richard Blackford. Would you agree with the notion that the proliferation of recording studios, some in people's bathroom, is contributing to the poor quality of music offerings and by extension, weakening the brand of Jamaican reggae?
I think even when we started 50, 60 years ago, music is art. Whatever form it comes in, it's art.
And I think there are some hits that have come out of people's closets. I remember I used to be around Sly and Robbie in the time of Diwali and all that kind of thing. And Lenky, who was they call him Reggae Jesus, tall whitish guy with fluffy hair, right? And I remember when he came out with the Diwali rhythm, Get Busy and all those songs. And they talked about him not knowing what he was doing, and he just took a drum set one day and decided he was going to make a thing and didn't know what he was going to do with it, and they told him it was going to flop, and that became one of the biggest rhythms in music history. Like Marsden, exactly.
And I also want to draw the attention to Lee Perry. When Lee Perry came to the studio, at that time we didn't have much instrument. He would carry candy and scan, a grater, a walking stick. Whatever can make a sound, he brought it to the studio. But we never honored him, although people think he was mad. But Lee Perry has done so great all over the world. I'm so proud of him. So proud of him. When I went to meet him before he passed on, He was saintly, very so humble. And he said, Miss Pat, now I'm living in Switzerland. And when he came for a show in New York, and I was so surprised, the people that surrounds him. And they're talking our culture, higher than our culture. You know, he created a music on his own from nothing. People used to say he's mad, but the way he reached in his career, I don't think anybody, with the Rolling Stones and all those bigger bands. So I'm so proud. So I don't think starting from scratch, everything starts from ground. Everything you do start, and I'm so proud of Island Space here. What you have done, it's exclusive. It brings everybody here, and I see the improvement. And I'm so proud of the team and David for what you have been doing.
Love.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before I ask you for your parting words, I'm going to share some information that we typically will share, particularly for those online as well. That we are inviting everyone to continue to come and visit Island Space. I talked about your time, your talent, your treasure. If you are able to volunteer, serve on a committee, if you appreciate or like what we're doing and you want to get involved, if you have a donation to give, and that can be an item for our archive. We have a whole lot of Jamaican things in here, and we don't have a whole lot of stuff from Curacao or Mair or, you know, some of the places that you don't hear about so much. Even Cuba and the Latin countries, we don't have sufficient things here. We do have, which I am happy to share, on the wall behind us, this exhibit, Pulse Contemporary Latin Caribbean Art, is the art exhibit that we have up for Hispanic Heritage Month. Behind us in the room here, you will see the Carnivals, Festivals, and Fetes exhibit. This is Carnival season in South Florida, and these will tell you, the information behind us will tell you the history and some information about some of the various carnival and festival events throughout the Caribbean. So we're not just about the museum aspect here, we're about the arts, we're about the culture, we're about sharing information about the entire region. What else did I want to share? We have also in the front window of the mall is Theo Azael's upcoming exhibit. He's our first Puerto Rican exhibitor, and he's doing a fashion exhibit here at the museum. It's a spectacular window. There will be a fashion show by him on October 14th. It will blow you away. And then he's doing a 1-month exhibit here in the museum as well with his absolutely spectacular fashion. So please keep looking at islandspacefl.org. Follow us on Eventbrite. In fact, we have an Art Week Comes to Plantation series coming up in December. We have the Rum Cake Festival the week before Jerk Festival. Bigging up Jerk Festival, Eddie's here. Let me give you a plug, Eddie. Eddie from Jerk Festival is here with us as well. And, you know, we always have things going on, reminding you about that Reggae Genealogy concert that's coming up on February 10th. Please mark your calendar right now. I'm sure VP Records is going to be very closely involved in that. Right? And if you are willing to give or donate to Island Space, you can do it through Zelle. It's give@islandspacefl.org. You can give to us through PayPal with that same email address. Cash App is Island Space. Everything is Island Space, right? So, Miss Pat, are there any final parting thoughts or words? What, more question? Oh, Copeland has a question. I love that. Copeland, could you join us up here, please? Thank you so much.
It's not so much of a question.
Or a comment. And is that Colin behind as well? All right. Genealogy, Reggae Genealogy in the flesh. Oh, you're with the Chin family.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Sorry to be late, but I spent 45 minutes outside trying to find this place because I used the first one and nobody could give me a direction. I even called Consul General Mair and he said, use your GPS. Anyway, I'm here, you know, and I'm glad I did the last one because this lady means so much to me in my journey. right? I'm celebrating my 60th year, and she's celebrating 80. So I'm behind her by 20, right? And I can remember the great days down at Parade when we used to go to Idler's Rest and sit around the corner. Whenever you want to find any musicians, any entertainer, just go down to Randy's, and they're right there. So I had to be here to pay my respect to you. You have contributed so much to the evolution and the development of reggae. Even some of the seminars that were held in New York that my brother spearheaded, you were there with him to help propel the music from one level to the other. So I just decided to come down, pay my respect to you, be here representing people like Freddie McGregor, who cannot be here this evening, Clyde McKenzie, right, Joe Bogdanovich, who is a publisher of my book, and all the Boards family and affiliates. My son is over there, just walked in, Colin, and my wife is sitting in the back there, who played a great role in my evolution, through your evolution. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to present a copy of my book to you here. If you see the similarity, I'll tell you something. It's the same designer.
Yes.
Yes. It was her recommendation, and I followed her footsteps because although I'm 20 years behind her, I am still following her, right? So if you notice the similarity, the same designer, it was printed in Greece, and we're in the same music, reggae music, so more strength. So Miss P, congratulations, and I take honor in presenting to you this book.
I want to give a shout out to my dearest friend Maria in Greece. Maria is a genius. She's not a Jamaican, but she knows reggae music. She loves reggae music. She spread reggae music all over. She's really a great person that really just loves the culture and the music. So, hail to Maria, wherever you are, Maria. Thank you.
Yes.
Which camera are we looking at?
All right, go to this one first.
We're going to stop down here.
Done.
One more.
All right.
Okay, don't move, Mr. Mair, Sister P, and the MC, because you have done so much work for the business and the music, and my team suggested that make sure you recognize the contribution that Mr. Mair has been doing for Jamaicans, not just in the music fraternity, but Jamaicans on a whole in South Florida. So brother, thanks, muchas gracias for all that you have done, and here is your copy of the team.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hold on, I introduce you now, sir.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Consul General's Distinguished Lecture Series. As we said earlier, our Consul General was not here at the beginning, not because he did not want to be, but because the Prime Minister came in by surprise and he had to go and do his duties. So we want to welcome and thank Oliver Mair, our Jamaican Consul General, Oliver Mair, who has joined us through thick and thin at the museum. And this is his lecture series, and we want to welcome him and ask him to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, there's a section in the program for the benediction. So I made it just in time. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for coming out. Ms. Pad, I'm sorry I wasn't able to be a part of the presentation, but certainly your role in Jamaica's music, or reggae music, certainly has been huge as the godmother We certainly appreciate you, and your legacy will continue to live on. And I'm sure those who are here in person and those watching online really appreciate VP Records and your work. I want to ask the audience to give another big round of applause. We have to do a better job in, presenting our flowers while we are here, right? And, as I look around, it doesn't matter what age we are right now. As you see, every day people decide to take the bus a little earlier and move on to the next world. Welcome, Father Ward, right? So we must tell each other how much we appreciate work and our contribution, and certainly, Ms. Pat, we appreciate you and the significant contribution you have made to reggae music, and reggae music has put Jamaica on the map. So big up, true Jamaican style, big up VP Records, and thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. CJ, and I'm glad you made it on time.
Jamaican.
You're here, it doesn't matter how you're here, and that's what matters most. Thank you for that compliment.
Thank you. I also, in closing, just want to say that this is a monthly series, and each month I want to thank Island Space for partnering with us. It's important, as you can see, it's free of cost, but it's not free. There's always a cost behind the scenes that has to be absorbed, and I want to thank Island Space for partnering with us. We have a number.
Lydia and Wainwright Malcolm.
Could you stand, please? We can acknowledge you so much for supporting us. All right? We appreciate you. These are our sponsors, and each month we will have a special presentation. I believe next month we will have one from Project Star, if you've heard about it. Perhaps I've preempted it a bit, but so yeah. All right, Cheryl, I must cut off. All right. She gave me the signal around. We know we love chatter. Come on. Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody, and Khalib. I'll turn it over to you.
So I don't know if you figured it out, but we were stalling to make sure that CG made it before we closed off. And I want to just ask Ms. Pat for any final thoughts you want to share with us before we wrap up.
I just want to thank you all for coming out. This is really a beautiful event, and we'll continue to make it be a success, and I know it will be. I also want to thank all the reggae fans, the producers, the artists, the DJ, the sound system, my family, and all my friends for the support over the 60 years. I am so grateful and happy that for the 60 years, I've touched so many lives, and they have also touched my lives. So I'm grateful. Above all, the person up here that keeps us every day. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And if you would like to get your book signed or say something to Ms. Pat, preferably sign the book and say it's over here. Right. Thank you. Thanks for watching online.